My career was, well, very short. The only claim to fame I ever had, I faced the great Nolan Ryan in spring training. He was a pitcher for the California Angels. He threw a high, tight fastball that actually drilled me in my helmet, cracked the helmet, knocked me unconscious. Some of you laugh. I was knocked out. They came to me. They took me to the hospital. X-rays taken on my head. The only headlines I ever received. The next day, some creative writer gives me these headlines. X-rays on Cassis's head reveal nothing. Being with the Chicago Bears for the past 12 years, it's been rather interesting. As a football team in the National Football League, we had an interesting coach by the name of Mike Ditka many years ago. Before every game, Mike Ditka used to pick somebody in the team, ask them to lead us in what he called a spirit of unity prayer, which was the Lord's Prayer. He asked all players of different faith if this was acceptable. They said yes. Well, in 1985, he looked at a rookie. His name was William Perry. This country dubbed him the refrigerator because of his size. Mike Ditka, the coach, looked at William and said, William, you're the man. You lead us in the Lord's Prayer. We take the field when I'm done talking. And so now he's walking back and forth, giving his little pregame talk. I am in the back of the room with our quarterback, Jim McMahon. Kind of a crazy individual. He leans over to me. He whispers in my ear. He goes, John. He said, look at William. He doesn't know the Lord's Prayer, man. I said, sure he does. He says, no. He's sweating. He's moving. He doesn't know it. I'm telling you, he doesn't know it. I looked at him. I said, Jim, he'll do fine. Just relax. He'll do fine. He leans over. He whispers. He goes, I'll bet you $20 he doesn't know the Lord's Prayer. Can't believe him. So I finally, just to keep him quiet, said, all right, you're on. $20. He knows the Lord's Prayer. We are now betting on the Lord's Prayer. We get done betting. Ditka gets done talking. He looks right at William Perry. He says, William, you're the man. Lead us in the Lord's Prayer. Everybody bows. It gets real quiet. And William prayed this prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. The entire place burst into laughter. We were never more loose before a game. Of course, the meeting was over with, and Jim McMahon came up to me and handed me a $20 bill. He said, here, John, I didn't know he knew the Lord's Prayer, man. Benton and Bowles did a study once. They asked people, what do you most admire in other people? Top 3 categories came out to be warmth, honesty, and a sense of humor. Are you warm and approachable? You better be in what you do. Is there honesty, integrity about you as a person? Alexander Pope said an honest person is the noblest work of God. And a sense of humor, can you laugh at yourself? Going through Toronto about a few years ago, I went through and I had some tapes and stuff, and there was a long delay, and customs officer looked at me. He was great. He says, welcome to Canada, no big deal. Just a little bump in the road, have you out of here in no time at all. He says, while you're waiting, I want to tell you the story that happened to me. Guy comes through here, asks me, does he have anything to declare? Big guy. He's got a little boy with him. Guy goes, nah. You bring across cigarettes? Nah. Booze? Nah. Camera film? No. Customs officer said at that point, the little boy looked at him and said, but he's getting warmer, huh, Daddy? A little creativity there, honesty, integrity.
What is it about this thing? You know, this authenticity, to be genuine, to be real, to be approachable. That's how we build relationships. That's how we build customers. Trust is the emotional glue that binds people together. I said that 2 years ago, but it's still true. It's an old school thought. Trust is emotional glue. It binds people together. So you don't break trust. You don't break it at home. You don't break it at work. You're partners. There's a uniqueness about that. That's the authenticity about a person, the integrity, the genuineness, and it stays strong. Keith Bell wrote a book, Winning Isn't Normal. He said, if you do what everybody else does, you're doing the normal thing, and you will not win. She was 90 years old. She was going to make her first plane trip, LA to Orlando. One of the best illustrations I've ever heard on customer service. There was a dispute over her will. The husband had died in his 90s, and she was 90, and family basically abandoned her, what little family she had left. She called Delta Airlines, and she got an agent, just an agent. And this guy listened to her apprehension, her nervousness, because she had to fly. She had never done it before, such a long trip. What does she do? He listened to her. He calmed her down. He told her exactly what to do, and then he booked her on a flight from LA to Orlando. And then he did something unprecedented. He went the extra mile. He books himself. He books himself on the same flight, and he accompanies this 90-year-old woman from LA to Orlando, and it was his day off. The extra mile. Indianapolis, Indiana, 5 kids lined up for a race, Special Olympics. If you've ever been to Special Olympics, you're going to love them because they're great. Kid in the middle was Wally Robenshaw. The whole story was told in Sports Illustrated. He's just a young kid and at the Special Olympics, and he's nervous and he's fidgeting and he's looking at his competitors. They're lined up for a 50-meter run right on the track, and he's checking everybody out, fidgeting. Suddenly, Wally looks up into the sky, looks at the clouds, goes completely relaxed, looking up the clouds. The other kids, they're in their lanes, and they're fidgeting, and they're nervous too, and they look at the kid in the middle, looking up in the sky. They all start looking up in the sky. Now you got 5 kids who are on the lane of the track, 50-meter run, are all staring up at the sky. The adults come by, the supervisors. Unusual. They all start looking up in the sky. Sports Illustrated said it went like a wave through the entire stadium. 5,000 people participate, spectators. Everybody stopped what they're doing, and everybody started looking up at the sky. Nobody had any idea what they were looking for. So you talk about the power of one. This is one right there. And then Wally, he was done looking up at the sky. He was done. And Wally just kind of looked straight ahead. Now stay with me. He caught the eye of the starter of the race, and somehow, a little confusion in communication, the starter shoots the gun for the start of the race, and Wally tears off down the track. And the other 4 kids are still looking up at the sky. You've got one lone runner running down the track. He's running as hard as he can, and he gets to the finish line, and he's almost there. He's like a couple yards, and he stops. He just stopped. And he turns around. He realizes there's nobody with him. They're still at the beginning. And with genuineness and authenticity, this kid shouts to these kids, "Hey, you guys, there's nothing up there. You missed the race. It started." And then he goes, "I'll wait for you, okay? Come on, I'll wait." And they took off running, and Wally is waiting for him, waving his arms, almost like he's giving them direction on where to go. They know where to go, but he's also edging closer to the finish line. And just about by the time they get to him, something took place in Wally. I don't know what it was, but he just looked at him and he saw their effort and he saw their determination and he got caught up in it and he forgot the finish line and he starts cheering and he's jumping up and down. Come on, come on, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And they all run right on by him. They ran right on by him. He's like a yard from the finish line and he cheers them. He cheers them. He's like oblivious to the goal of the race. And then they go, come on, Wally. He goes, okay. And he crosses the finish line dead last. Sports Illustrated told the story. They concluded the story with this. Wally wanted to win, but Wally, he wanted a race. He wanted people with him. He wanted to have meaning and purpose. You and I are the same way. We want our race to have meaning and purpose, and we want people with us, and we do want a partner. By the way, they had a banquet that night for the Special Olympics in Indianapolis. They gave one award, and the one award was given to the individual who best exemplified what they called the spirit of the games. And they gave it to Wally Robenshaw. So show me anybody who's not afraid. Go ahead. Show me anybody who's not afraid to say to somebody else, hey, come on, let's go. We can do this. Come on. With sincerity, with authenticity, with genuineness. Come on, we can do this. Come on, we're better than this. Come on, you're better than this. I'll show you somebody they call leader, father, mother, grandparent, because the world is full of people who do this. They don't care. They don't encourage. They tend to be negative. They tend not to believe. And when the world challenges them in their life, they'd rather live in a land of mediocrity. And we need people who are authentic and who are givers, who have spirit. Say, come on. It's not my story. I heard this man tell the story, and I asked him if I could tell it several years ago, and he said, no problem. He's since died of cancer, but his spirit continues to live on. He was watching the great Arnold Palmer playing the golf tournament back in the 60s, and Arnold Palmer was known for being the king, the best. Now, Arnold Palmer had spirit. He had charisma. He was definitely authentic. He was a giver in life. He gave the crowds. He gave the people. I know Arnold Palmer living in Orlando. He's a wonderful man. He's always gone the extra mile. And Palmer could not win the tournament. He was stuck. He just could not get on, so to speak, and like that tightrope and push it to the next level. And he was on the 11th hole. He's like 8 strokes off the lead on the last day of a tournament. No chance to win. And he starts to take his swing. And the man who tells this story was in the crowd, and he decided to do something different. He just decides to shout out in the middle of Palmer's swing. He goes, hey, Arnie, you're holding back. That's your problem, Arnie. You can do it. Come on, Arnie, charge. Well, Palmer stopped his swing right in the middle and couldn't believe somebody shouted, and other people yelled at the guy, and Palmer tried to gather himself. He got over the ball, got an approach shot at the green. He said it hit him. He wasn't charging. He wasn't believing. He was holding back mentally. He was just in a mess. And we all get that way at times. He said, just let it go. Let it go. So he takes his swing and he just lets it go. Doesn't worry about it. That's how we play our best golf anyhow. And he sticks one about 3 or 4 feet from the pin. The crowd cheers, and Palmer lifts up his arms and smiles and walks down, and he makes the birdie putt. And he goes to the next hole, and he's got this very difficult approach shot. He's got to bend around the trees. He's zoning in on it. He starts to take a swing, and the same guy who's telling the story. He goes, hey, Arnie, don't forget to charge. I believe in you, Arnie. You can do it. And this time Palmer looks at it. He goes, I don't know who this guy is, but he's on my side. Here we go. He's on my side. So Palmer hits this shot, his low cut around this tree, and sticks it like 5 or 6 feet. Impossible shot. He makes it for a birdie. And it's in sport, and in life and relationships, when you get that thing called momentum, when that spirit just begins to move and confidence and joy about living, it's like contagious everywhere. And Arnie was contagious, and the army began to swell, all the spectators, Arnie's army, and he made birdies and eagles all the way out. And he came back from like a 9-stroke deficit in 8 holes to win this tournament. It was like one of his greatest comebacks ever. And this guy was with him every step of the way. So Palmer's at the victory stage on the 18th green. He's receiving his award, and this guy shouts one more time with him. "Hey, Arnie! Job well done, Arnie. Knew you could do it. I believed in you all the time." And Palmer looks up at the gallery, goes, "Who are you? The voice. Where are you? What are you about anyhow?" And the guy raises his hand. And so Palmer, in the middle of a ceremony, stops it. He goes back, he weaves his way through, and here he comes across this guy. This guy's got this big old fishing hat on with medallions around it. And he's got dark sunglasses, and he's got like Bermuda shorts, big old baggy Bermuda shorts. This is like way before baggy was ever in. And then he's got, this is the kicker, he's got black socks up to his knees. Not a good outfit, guys, on the golf course. And Palmer looks at him, he smiles, he said, "Sir, I don't know who you are, and I don't know where you're from, but I want to thank you. I don't know." He just connected. "If I could ever do anything for you, I'd be honored to do it. I'm Arnold Palmer. Thank you." And Arnie put out his hand to shake his hand, and the guy never shook his hand. And he brought it back. And here's, "Well, Arnie, there is something you could do for me." He said, "I just love how you play golf. And I'd just like to play you around the golf. It'd be a great match. I wouldn't want to play you. It's like Arnold Palmer and me in a round of golf. You're a champion, but I'm a champion too. You probably never heard of me, Arnie. My name's Charlie Boswell, and I'm the international champion for blind golfers. Where's that hand of yours, Arnie? I'd love to shake it." And Palmer shook his hand, and what Palmer never realized is that Charlie Boswell was not born blind. But he served our country in the war, in the trenches of war. A grenade was dropped, and 2 friends were there. And somehow he dove on this grenade, and he got it partly out of the way, I guess midair, and protected his mates and lost his eyes. He became a war hero. They gave him medals of honor, but he couldn't see anymore. Big sacrifice, and he came back. And so he said, in his own words, he would not sit on a pity pot anymore and feel sorry for himself, but he'd do something different. He tried something, like golf. He didn't even like golf, but he took up golf to prove to himself and other people, in his words, that we're most handicapped in life. Here and here. We hold ourselves back most in life. Here, how we think, how we see things, the perspectives we draw, and here, in our heart, how much we're willing to give, and how much we're willing to love, and how much we're willing to forgive, and how much courage we have to put ourselves and our business lives and our confidence out there. Well, he said, that's where we lose it, here and here, heart and head, that's what holds us back. Palmer finds out all this about Charlie Boswell. He said, "Charlie, you're an amazing man." He said, "I'd be honored to play you." And Charlie says, "Great, 2 conditions, Arnie. 1, don't hold back because I'm blind. Be genuine, give me your best, don't hold back." And Palmer says, "Okay." And 2, make sure it happens. We play for $1,000 a game because I'm a competitor, Arnie. I want to play Palmer for $1,000 a game. What do you say, Arnie? Arnie doesn't want to take advantage of a blind guy, but he wants to be true to him and show him respect, so he says, "Okay, you're on. Charlie, I'll give you my best game. You want to play for $1,000? You're on. You're on, buddy. When do you want to play?" Charlie goes, "Any night, Arnie. Any night at all." And I think that kind of sums it up, don't you? Charlie Boswell, he lost his sight. Charlie Boswell never lost sight. So what do you take from a conference like this, and what do you go home with? Lots of new business ideas, lots of new sage material, maybe a few points from a talk like this, but what's most important, what you go home with is we take a different perspective and we don't lose sight of the things most important. So keep your sense of humor. Keep your spirit alive. Be authentic and be genuine. And be a giver. The world's full of non-givers. And go the extra mile because it touches people and it changes lives. So I close with Henry Drummond. He said it many, many years ago. He said, when all is said and done in our life, when we look back over our life, if we have a chance to look back over our life, at that moment we look back over, we will say, the moments that we were most alive, the moments that we most lived, were the moments that you and I had given ourselves to other people in a spirit of love. God bless all of you. Thanks for listening. Take care. Thank you. Boswell, and I'm the international champion for blind golfers. Where's that hand of yours, Arnie? I'd love to shake it. And Palmer shook his hand, and what Palmer never realizes that Charlie Boswell was not born blind. But he served our country in the war, in the trenches of war. A grenade was dropped, and two friends were there. And somehow he dove on this grenade, and he got it partly out of the way, I guess midair, and protected his mates and lost his eyes. He became a war hero. They gave him medals of honor, but he couldn't see anymore. Big sacrifice, and he came back. And so he said, in his own words, he would not sit on a pity pot anymore and feel sorry for himself, but he'd do something different. He tried something, like golf. He didn't even like golf, but he took up golf to prove to himself and other people, in his words, that we're most handicapped in life. Here and here. We hold ourselves back most in life. Here, how we think, how we see things, the perspectives we draw, and here in our heart, how much we're willing to give, and how much we're willing to love, and how much we're willing to forgive, and how much courage we have to put ourselves and our business lives and our confidence out there. Well, he said, that's where we lose it, here and here, heart and head, that's what holds us back. Palmer finds out all this about Charlie Boswell. He said, Charlie, you're an amazing man. He said, I'd be honored to play you. And Charlie says, great, 2 conditions, Arnie. 1, don't hold back because I'm blind. Be genuine, give me your best, don't hold back. And Palmer says, okay. And 2, make sure it happens. We play for $1,000 a game because I'm a competitor, Arnie. I want to play Palmer for $1,000 a game. What do you say, Arnie? Arnie doesn't want to take advantage of a blind guy, but he wants to be true to him and show him respect. So he says, okay, you're on. Charlie, I'll give you my best game. You want to play for $1,000? You're on. You're on, buddy. When do you want to play? Charlie goes, any night, Arnie. Any night at all. And I think that kind of sums it up, don't you? Charlie Boswell, he lost his sight. Charlie Boswell never lost sight. So what do you take from a conference like this, and what do you go home with? Lots of new business ideas, lots of new sage material, maybe a few points from a talk like this, but what's most important, what you go home with is we take a different perspective and we don't lose sight of the things most important. So keep your sense of humor. Keep your spirit alive. Be authentic and be genuine. And be a giver. The world's full of non-givers. And go the extra mile because it touches people and it changes lives. So I close with Henry Drummond. He said it many, many years ago. He said, when all is said and done in our life, when we look back over our life, if we have a chance to look back over our life, at that moment we look back over, we will say, the moments that we were most alive, the moments that we most lived, were the moments that you and I had given ourselves to other people in a spirit of love. God bless all of you. Thanks for listening. Take care. Thank you.